Well, hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to a new episode of He Said, He Said, He Said, a look at the world from a seasoned Black man's perspective. I'm Alvin King, and welcome to our Christmas Eve show, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even have to ask any of you, but I know it's cold wherever you are, unless you're in Mexico or down in Florida. Even Atlanta is experiencing some cold weather. But whatever you guys are doing, I hope that you are ready for the holidays. We certainly are, and we are so happy that you all are joining us tonight for our show. Speaking of our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we thought that we would go into our Manage Your Health series, being that it's the end of the year, and we wanted to close the year out with talking to you about your health. I mean, because we are in a state where everyone, state meaning place, state meaning, just the world we live in, where we need to take care of our health, because there's a lot going on with our health and with what's out there, all these, this new triple-demic that's going around. But tonight we are here with Jason Beverley from the DC Department of Health. He is here tonight to talk with us and answer our questions, and hopefully some of yours about what's going on in our world. And guys, ladies, gentlemen, we really, I cannot stress enough that we really need to take care of our health. I mean, I am 63 years old. I, believe in going to the doctors and getting, the right checks and checkups and all of that. But there are a lot of people who are not my age who think that I should be doing it because I am this age, and they are not. They are younger than me. I have seen a lot of people who are younger than me who are actually dying because they're not taking care of themselves, and they have chosen to put a date before the doctor. And that's something that you really need to get out of. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to preach to you that much longer, but you really need to take care of your health. I hope you guys have had a good week. My week has been kind of crazy. For all of you who decorate, as you can see that I decorate, I got to tell you, I opened my my blinds on Tuesday, and all of the 1,000+ lights on my house had gone out. I was devastated. And for those of you who know me, you know I had to get those lights back up on my house. So I had to do it before it rained and before it got cold. And you can't see it, but my house is lit now. And so for anybody who have lights outside of your house and they go out, just know that Alvin will sympathize with you because I've been through it. But it is time to get on with the show, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to bring in my co-host. So if you all are ready for the chat, we are. Welcome to the stage, Vash, and Bobby Edwards.
Hey,
hello, gentlemen.
Hey, fellas. How y'all doing?
Happy holidays. Happy holidays.
That was not what you had on just a few seconds ago.
Come on now.
I love it.
Wait a minute.
He was not going to be outdone with us in this red thing. He was like, oh, and he was so quiet, but he's like, okay, I got him.
Santa's elves.
You're giving me kind of cute elf thing going on. Yeah,
I got to get back on the line making toys, but
oh my God, I'm pretty speechless.
I love it. I love it.
Hey guys, goodness.
Hopefully you guys have had a great week. You have.
I just want to point out that I found a little bit of humor when you were like talking about your lights, and you were like saying, and for those of you whose lights may go out, I'm just thinking he's going to be like, I'd be happy to come over and help you. You were like, I'll sympathize with you. I thought you were going to be like, and if your lights should go out, don't worry, I know what to do. I'll come over. And you were like, no, if your lights go out, I just sympathize with you. So
B, I love you, but I can't do it. I mean, and one of my best friends came over the night that my lights went out. He's a decorator also.
Yes.
And he decorates like crazy. And when he saw my lights were out, I said, I'm going out there. He said, just, he's very calm. Just don't worry about it. Just go ahead and check your circuit breaker. I said, I'm taking every light down.
Wow.
And I'm going to put them back up in 24 hours.
Goodness.
And I did.
Wow.
And I did. So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Well, speaking of gifts, for those of us who have been watching the January 6th committee for like the last who knows how long, it seems like it's been forever. Mm-hmm. They have finally come up in their closing remarks and made recommendations to the Department of Justice about President Trump. So let's take a look at who these people are and what they have come up with. So the committee have voted unanimously to recommend that former President Trump be prosecuted on 4 charges.
4 charges.
1 is obstruction of an official proceedings of the United States government. 2 is conspiracy to defraud the United States. 3 is conspiracy to make a false statement. And 4 is inciting, assisting, or aiding and comforting an insurrection. Wow. What do you guys think about that?
Well, first of all, I want to commend the January 6th committee. I don't care what anyone says about them. They were a team of people who wanted to make sure that they got the facts out. And I mean, they set out, they had points to prove. And, one of them was that criminal misconduct and efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. That was the overarching. And I think they did a really good job of laying out what they had to lay out. So I'm going to say that for now. Bobby?
And I would just say that, contrary to the accusation of it being a witch hunt, I certainly saw it as anything but. It was very structured, and in terms of laying out their arguments, providing evidence, testimonies by people who were even selected by the former president. I often don't say his name, so I will just leave it at that. But I think that, there's find the lie is what I say. And the fact that they also recommended that the former president be barred from holding office in the district again, I think is completely appropriate as well. A very sound and valid recommendation.
Mm-hmm. Well, in looking at all of that, and thinking, how can they get him? Because, first of all, I don't even know why he's not in jail now. But thinking about how they could get him, and I thought, while looking at that, I thought, there are so many things that his lawyers could come up with that they won't hold him on. But if the Department of Justice does not prosecute him on the leaked tape that he had when he went and he spoke to, I think it's Raffensperger in Georgia. I think that is
about getting the votes.
I think that's his name. It's Raffensperger in Atlanta when he asked him to find 11,780 votes. I think that
alone,
if the DOJ doesn't step up and prosecute him, convict him on that, hold him accountable on that, I don't know what else they can do. You know what I'm saying? And so that just it just disturbs me. And then one last thing that came up for me, because of course I always go back to, if President Obama had did any of this, anything remotely close to what he did, President Obama would still be in jail. Okay. And I know this is kind of a funny thought that I have in my head, but I thought President Obama, he was in the White House for 8 years. Can you imagine him coming home and, he's in a limousine and he can't make it in the house to go to the bathroom? He's like, wait a minute, hold on, I got to go to the bathroom. And so, he decides that, he's going to, he wouldn't do it, but he'd have to go to the bathroom and hit right in the bushes in his yard. They would find a law from 18-something to convict him on how you can't urinate on White House grass.
I'm sorry, did the former president do that? I didn't hear that.
Of course I said he would not do that, Bob.
No, I said, I know you
45.
said, I said, did.
No, I'm just saying.
But you're just saying
that
the
minute,
absolutely.
A comparison.
Absolutely.
Something that, and I think of all these funny things about President Obama. All he had to do was first of all, they wanted to talk about him for wearing a beige suit.
I was going to say they got on him about a suit, saying he didn't realize being presidential. Exactly. So
I digress. But I think the January 6th committee did a great job of showing us the facts. And so I would give them that. And it was a great day in the city to just see that happening. So
there was another thing that also made it a great day in the city recently this week, and that was the revealing of a mural. If you know the Washington, D.C. area, we have murals all over the city, and the alleyway of 13th and 8th Street Northeast is no exception. There is a mural that now features the visualization of Earlene Budd, 55-year-old, longtime D.C. resident. And not that murals are special, as I said, here in D.C., but this one is because it is the first one in the nation, in the district that honors a transgender citizen. So Earlene Budd is the first transgender citizen of the District of Columbia to be honored with a mural sanctioned by the city. So we salute and congratulate Earlene Budd, a longtime DC resident and advocate specifically and in particular for transgender women.
I applaud her. I am so happy that she's here to receive her flowers and that
absolutely, because so often when people receive murals, they are not here to see it. It's true.
It's very true. Yeah.
And if I could have, worked some magic to have gotten her on the show, I definitely would have done that. It wasn't for lack of trying, but I did meet Earlene Budd actually 20 years ago when I was raising money for the Max Robinson Center with a tour I was on with Absolute Vodka, and we honored her, and I didn't know who she was at the time. And so to see her receive this again, it is a blessing, and I'm glad that she's here to receive this honor. Yeah.
When she was interviewed, she said that she was overwhelmed but thankful for being a part of a community that's so loving and so caring. So we salute Earlene Budd.
Earlene Budd, and 35 years of doing this. 35 years of advocacy for the LGBTQI community. Come on, Earlene.
You said 20 years ago. Were you 4? How old were you doing that?
I just said I was 63 years old. I was a cute little tight shirt wearing 43-year-old.
Oh my! I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna move on. Let's move on.
That's okay. He's still a tight shirt wearing 60-year-old.
I wasn't gonna say it. I was like, some things never change, I guess.
Always be yourself.
That's right. Be you.
That's right. Well, I'm gonna go from DC to New York. On Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know, the Central Park Five, who are now called the Exonerated Five, actually, for those of you who are watching this picture, in 1989, 5 men of color were convicted of a crime of raping a woman in Central Park. And the way they were treated and the way they just went through a tremendous amount of unfair, injustice behavior. And it took Ava DuVernay to produce a film called When They See Us. She did it in 2019, and it's an American crime drama that is on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, please see it. There were some major newcomers, Jerome, Ashante Black, and the late Michael K. Williams. They were all in this film, and it is absolutely amazing, talking about this story of how these men were treated. And let me just say, the city in 2014 awarded them $41 million. They settled a suit for $41 million. But on Tuesday, there is a new entryway at Central Park between Fifth Avenue and Malcolm X Boulevard, known as the Gate of the Exonerated. And these 5 men are being honored. It commemorates the miscarriage of justice that not only befell the 5 men, organizers say, but unknown to others who might have been wrongly imprisoned. This was like so good to see. And 3 of the 5 men were there. So who were exonerated. And it was just such a beautiful moment in New York. And I can't wait to see it. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to going to New York to see that. So
absolutely.
That was, yeah. I don't know why, but that was a big moment. And this is a mural of them as well that I thought was, really cool. And again, if you all can see When They See Us on Netflix, have you guys seen it?
It's very powerful.
I have not.
You have to be in this way. It's very, very well done. And it's very, very powerful. And just as a point of clarification, and I know you said, these young African-American men, but the reality of it is they were still boys. They were teens when they endured a lot of what you've described. And so it makes it even more profound, because so often young men of color are assumed to be and treated far older than they actually are. Indeed. And this was a perfect example of injustice that these young boys should have never encountered.
Exactly.
True. Blue, welcome to the show tonight. Sean, welcome to the show tonight. Thank you all for being here. I see that you know that your health is important, so we're glad that you're joining us tonight.
Absolutely.
So if you guys are ready, I want to get on with the show and
get some
bring in
health
our
talk.
special guest. Are you all ready?
Ready.
Yes, indeed. Let's get
all right. Our special guest tonight is a certified family nurse practitioner who serves as Deputy Division Chief in the STD and TB Control Division, part of the HIV/AIDS, Hepatitis, STD, and TB Administration, which is called, I'm gonna ask him to correct it, but I'm gonna say HAHSTA at the DC Department of Health. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to our stage tonight, Mr. Jason Beverley.
Hello.
Jason!
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, I'm doing good. I'm nice and warm here in the
I know
office.
Alvin has questions for you, but is your business card this big? My Lord, there's so many things that he just said.
Our administration.
He's like a Jamaican. Yeah. He's got 19 jobs.
Yeah, our administration does quite a bit. We pack a lot into one administration here.
Well, Jason, again, welcome to our show. I want to, give you the stage right now so you can tell us a little bit about yourself and the role that you play at the Department of Health and the role that the DC Department of Health plays overall.
Sure. Yeah. So as you mentioned, I'm a nurse practitioner, and I've been working in DC in the community since 1990. So quite a while. Prior to coming to the Department of Health about 6 years ago, I had been part of a team that started the school-based health center at Anacostia High School. I was there for about 7 years, providing primary care services to the students in the high school and the students' children, for those who are parenting. And now I oversee the division of STD and TB control, which is the S and the T in HAHSTA, which you pronounced correctly. We love an anagram in the government. And the HIV/AIDS, Hepatitis, STD, and TB Administration. So we're the S and the T of that. And a big part of what we do in our division is oversee the running of the STD and TB clinic for the district. And so this is a clinic which provides for the sexual health of DC residents. We say anyone who works, plays, or lives in the district can come see us. And we also do the care for most of the active TB cases and many of the latent TB cases in the district. But other things that HAHSTA does is, our former director talked a lot about the intersection of public health and clinical services. And so we're about providing some of those clinical services, but looking for ways that we can provide technical assistance and build up the capacity of our community-based partners to help us with the mission of HAHSTA, which is looking at the prevention and care of those lists of diseases in HAHSTA. So we're about prevention, we're about care, we're about low barrier access, we're about equity. There you go.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a lot. Well, given that level, given that the specific areas that you find yourself working in currently, are there particular issues that the LGBTQ community in particular deals with in your area of specificity?
Absolutely. I mean, we're we're about prevention of STDs. STIs, STDs are synonymous, the same thing. They mean the same thing. And prevention and care, prevention of and care for HIV. Those would be the ones that come to my mind most readily when it comes to LGBTQ community. We, as you probably know, we have quite a high prevalence rate of HIV, one of the highest in the country. And at the same time, thanks to the advances of modern medicine and the work of predecessors, we have gone from thousands of cases annually down to a much lower number. We're really excited about that, and at the same time, we know that we can do better. We can get with the treatment that we have and the prevention options that we have. We are really looking to get that HIV prevalence rate as close to zero as possible. Right now, we're talking about 240, give or take, new cases a year, and we want to say that it's 240 too many.
Yeah,
what we can do.
Thank you.
Well, Jason, thanks for being here. I am an intersex activist, so I am going to include the I in the acronym LGBTQI because it's important that I think we talk about intersex people whenever we talk about lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people. What services does HAHSTA provide or offer specifically to LGBTQI individuals?
We have a number of programs we like to talk about. One is our DC Beings or Sexual Beings campaign. This is a sex positive effort at addressing what has previously been stigmatized topics around sexuality. So our Sexual Beings website is where anyone can go, but specifically our LGBTQI folks can go request condoms to have condoms delivered directly to you or your organization, but also to get information on free STD testing and treatment, HIV care and prevention, ways to get PrEP and PEP, and then just resources for how to talk to each other about sex in a sex positive way. We also have a Sex Is campaign, which is a very similar campaign, but focused on youth. So looking at helping youth identify trusted adults and help provide resources to those trusted adults on how to talk to young people about sex in a way that doesn't have them growing up with some of the baggage that I know I grew up with. We have our Get Checked DC program is something we stood up during COVID that we're really proud of. This is a way that if you're a DC resident, you can go online to getchecked.dc.org and request kits, STD test kits that get mailed to your house. So it's 3-site testing, throat, rectum, and urine. You can request LabCorp walk-in testing where we send lab orders to LabCorp and you walk in there and get your test. Or you can request a free HIV test kit that was mailed to your house and you do it on your own. And all three of those options are free to DC residents. The DC Health and Wellness Center, which I mentioned before, that's our STD and TB clinic. We are a low barrier access point for people to come and get categorical STD testing and treatment. So gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis, herpes, but also where you can come to get your HIV cared for. You find out you're newly living with HIV or have been living with it for a long time and have fallen out of care and need to be re-engaged quickly. We also do hepatitis C treatment and some family planning. I think one thing we forget about as LGBTQI, we're just people part of the regular community, and our other health needs are important too, not just HIV, not just STDs.
Absolutely.
And access is just as much an issue for especially the members of our community of color. So just I think there's this impression sometimes in straight America that that gay people don't have a problem with access to healthcare, and just simply not the case at all. the members of our community that are living east of the river, for instance, Ward 7 and 8, have the same sort of access problems that everybody else in the community does. And so,
if not more.
If not more. Good point. I mean, in thinking about talking with you guys tonight, I just did a little digging into things that we don't normally talk about, like the fact that, nationwide, about a third of Black LGBTQI adults are parenting. So it's not just things that we have to talk about health-wise that are unique to our community, although those exist, but the overall health of the community is something that we don't want to lose sight of too.
You very much have spoken to what feels to be like a multi-pronged approach to trying to address these issues: education, programs that foster conversation and discussion to remove stigma. All of those things very important. As we talk about the fact that Washington, D.C. has been notoriously known for its high infection rate, amongst the highest in the country, I'm curious as to it, because it's certainly not that people are not having sexual encounters in other cities and across the country. Do you have an idea of what lends itself to the city for it to have such a high infection rate?
Yeah, I definitely do. One thing I want to say about our high prevalence rate for HIV is that part of the reason we have so many people living with HIV is that people are living with HIV, thanks be to God,
yes,
so that
exactly.
we are no longer losing a big number of our community to this infection, to this disease. And so the overall number of people is going to be fairly constant, and maybe go up a little bit because we have new infections.
Yes.
And then people are passing from things not related to HIV, related to aging. And that's another thing that we are really talking about now is aging with HIV. We're still in the infancy of knowing how to manage this because we didn't have this welcome problem decades ago. People weren't growing old with HIV. And so now, that's a big focus that we're going to have going forward. But I know you didn't just ask about HIV. The other infection rates, I want to say that we have a real rising problem with syphilis, gonorrhea, and chlamydia, but we are not alone. This is a nationwide problem. And we have some ideas, some common sense ideas about why this is the case. We have condom fatigue is a thing. People are tired of hearing about condoms. Because we have undetectable equals untransmittable for our folks living with HIV. Condoms are not as much of a priority as they were before. Because we have great biomedical prevention, pre-exposure prophylaxis for HIV and post-exposure, so PrEP and PEP, condoms are not quite the focus, which is great vis-a-vis HIV, and has been one of the things leading to increased numbers of our gonorrhea, chlamydia, and syphilis. But it's not only that. It's more people are getting tested. It is, and it's not just in the LGBTQI community too. We don't hold the patent on getting STDs.
Absolutely.
People say we do have a higher rate, but we see increasing rates of syphilis, gonorrhea, and chlamydia in the straight community too.
Right. Okay. We're not the only ones who are getting it.
Absolutely not. No.
So I kind of want to switch gears a little bit and ask you this question, Jason, and more so, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to ask it this way. How is HAHSTA in considering the challenges? Well, how is HAHSTA considering the challenges that you have when crafting public health programs and initiatives? How are you considering all the challenges that you have? And my second part to that is, and how, if at all, do you support smaller health-based organizations in other communities like Whitman Walker Clinic or Us Helping Them?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking as you were asking that about, we we can't just be the health department providing this, all the services, if we're going to address all the needs that the community has. We need our community partners. And so we do work with them. We are a regular grantor of funds and technical assistance to community-based organizations. I thought specifically about Whitman Walker Health and the fact that, yes, they have the new clinic on 14th Street, but they've had a presence in Ward 8 for years, and the Max Robinson Center, and we're really excited about the new facility they're talking about. That's super exciting. But we partner really closely with Us Helping Us. I think I'm on the phone with them weekly or bi-weekly, both in referring people to, but also getting referrals from. And Us Helping Us, I want to just give a little shout out, especially to them. They are working with a group of folks who may not otherwise access the healthcare system. And I'm talking about people who may not identify as gay or bisexual, trans, or intersex, or are still figuring out how to navigate the world sexually and where they fit in. And because they don't necessarily identify as LGBTQI, they may not come directly to my clinic. They might not come directly to Whitman Walker or something that's seen as a gay clinic, but they may go to Us Helping Us for case management and other services. And while they're there, they've done such a great job at expanding and being able to offer some of those health services with the partnership of Washington Health Institute and Dr. Hodge and his team there. I also want to mention the work that's the partnership we have ongoing with Latin American youth, La Clínica del Pueblo, Mary Center, in our Latinx community, which is another group that is dealing with stigma around sexual minorities and dealing with sort of a difficulty just in being in the United States in some in some instances, and being newly immigrated here. But some things that we're doing directly in terms of trying to address the challenges that we were talking about is providing low barrier access points for sexual health care, like the DC Health and Wellness Center. We're also excited about the design of a program coming from our prevention division that is looking at putting vending machines with sexual health products that are going to be placed around the district. I don't have the locations yet, but it's something we're kind of excited about. Something novel, thinking outside the box, where people can get access to things that not just sexual health, but sexual pleasure, and that we don't talk about enough.
I have to agree with you on that, because I think the whole grab and go concept is not old. I mean, it's not new. I mean, this is the whole grab and go concept has been around for a long time. And this program that you're putting together, that's giving people, a vending machine. You could go out somewhere. It's like going to 7-Eleven, and you can decide to go to a vending machine to get, you're human. Something, but it's something that you can get out of a machine that can help you take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate and applaud you for saying that. I'm going to take a moment to say hello to some folks that have come on real quick and give you all a little breathing. Monica came on the show. Shelton Samuel Smallwood has come on the show. Oh. Shelton Smallwood, let me say, you guys, real quick, this is the reason. One of the reasons, the main reason why Jason is here. I met Shelton on a trip. We were talking health, and he said, I have a friend, and voila, Jason is on the show. So Sam, thank you for that.
Hey, best friend.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I just wanted to give you guys a little breath, and so that we
Oh, that's great. No.
I'm somewhat intrigued by what products would be in this vending machine.
Of course you are.
I'm talking about, like,
the hat says it all. Of course you would. You want to know.
I know, I do. I'm thinking about, like, the health products. You can talk about the other products as well, but our imaginations can take us there. But what health products would be there?
Yeah, so it's still in design, but we're thinking about different types of lube, specific silicone lube, which is the best lube for anal sex in terms of sexual pleasure, but also in terms of sexual safety. Of course, a variety of condoms. But we're also thinking about things like not only information that you can get, but QR codes that you could scan to directly get, like the test kits that I talked about through the Get Check DC program to come directly to your house. Possibly a similar scan or code that you can reach our PEP hotline. We have a 24-hour PEP hotline that if something happened, if you're not living with HIV and you have a near an oops that happens, a potential exposure, you can get access within 72 hours to post-exposure prophylaxis. So we're trying to figure out how to link that in the vending machines together. The PEP hotline already exists. Right now, we're not thinking about putting actual medications in there, but fast links to medications free of charge, low barriers possible. Those are the sorts of things that we're thinking of for the vending machines.
Pretty cool.
There may be options for needle exchange and clean works in those machines as well. Still in development a little bit.
Right on.
Okay. All right. That's cool.
Well, as organizations that might be community-based, what's the best way for them to get in touch with and or work with government organizations to reach the communities about this health?
Well, fortunately, because of the grant work that we do with a number of our community-based organizations, there's a built-in way that we work together with them because of the grant monitoring evaluation that goes on with those grants. There's our website for CBOs to put in an outreach request. So if you're doing a health fair or something in the community that you'd like us to have a presence there, or support for testing, things like that, that's dchealth.dc.gov/service/community outreach request. We can, in many ways, support HIV testing programs, and that's even with providing HIV kits free of charge. That's through our prevention division at DC Health, and that's on our DC Health website. And one plug I want to put in is by reporting positive test results, which is something that we encourage and that is actually mandated by law. When CBOs send us a positive HIV, syphilis, gonorrhea, or chlamydia test, that puts that client in connection, connects to our disease investigator team and connects people to, it's a way that we can connect people to care, contact tracing, partner services, so that reporting mechanism that's built in where our CBOs send us information about positive tests is another way where we can then reach back out and close the loop and provide direct services to their clients.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jason. I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm sure you will have an answer, but it's not totally in the area that I know you to be. But you can change my mind on that. Since the onset of COVID, there have been a reduction in HIV/AIDS testing in the District of Columbia, from what I understand. Why do you think this has happened, and what consequences does the community face by not advocating for people to get tested, even during COVID?
This is such a great question, because we couldn't foresee so many of the negative consequences of the pandemic, right? It was a global pandemic. And so everyone was doing the best they could just to get through to the other side. But one of the unfortunate things is a decrease almost immediate decrease in asymptomatic HIV and STD screening in the district. It went from here to here, a precipitous drop. And it was because no one was providing services that were not critical or seen as critical, especially in the first year following the start of COVID. And so so many of our CBOs who were doing great work in doing routine testing and district residents that were used to doing that regularly, all of a sudden it was almost impossible to find. And so what happened as a result is that we didn't have a good enough idea of how many people were newly diagnosed with HIV, how many people were positive for asymptomatic STIs, which syphilis, gonorrhea, and chlamydia, and HIV for that matter, can be asymptomatic, so people don't know that they have it. And so what happened after that in 2020, the numbers that we had coming out of that year did not at all accurately reflect the actual infections that people had during that year. And so if you don't know that you have something, you can't treat it. And if you don't know that you have something, you can easily spread it to partners. And the perception in the community, largely based on fact, but after a while based not necessarily in fact, is that these services were not being provided and they couldn't get access to them. And so this, that Get Check DC program that I talked about, we stood that up as a way to try to address that need. And then we started this Express Clinic program, which is still running out of our DC Health and Wellness Center, where you can come in and have a providerless testing visit that takes usually 15 to 20 minutes. You come, you tell us based on the type of sex that you have, what tests you want. You just go self-collect your specimens, get your blood drawn if you need HIV or syphilis or hepatitis, and then keep it moving. You don't have to interact with the provider. It was a way that we could decrease traffic in the community, in the clinic, decrease face-to-face interaction if at all possible, which was really important early on in the pandemic, and a way that patients could come and get free asymptomatic screening, didn't have to answer a bunch of questions, could just get it and go.
And keep it going. Okay.
And keep it going. That grab and go you were talking about.
Yes, grab and go. Okay. Now, obviously, COVID still exists. I'd heard on the news tonight that infection rates are beginning to climb again. But as Alvin mentioned earlier, we find ourselves facing what is being referred to as the triple demic right now: RSV, the flu, and COVID. Can you speak to that in any way in terms of things that we should be mindful of as we go into this time of gathering during the holidays?
Yeah, absolutely. We were trying to, when I was talking with you guys before we went on air, a triple demic, I think, is what we came up with. People are calling it. And, one, it's frightening because people die of all three of these viruses. People are still dying from COVID. People die from the flu every year, and RSV kills the very young and the very old, unfortunately. And in addition to that, the impact that it has on service delivery in all sectors of business, but specifically in healthcare delivery, is really, really important. I was sharing earlier that, almost half of our provider staff at our clinic are currently out with one of those three viruses. 4 others, adenovirus, rhinovirus, these sort of viruses this time of year people are getting. And so one thing that we've learned, and it's a good thing, is that we do not come to work and play anymore when we're sick. We never should have, but everybody powered through, right? But now we're doing what we need to do and not being around people. And that's a good thing. And at the same time, it really makes providing services difficult when half the staff are out. So, I'll put a plug in for don't go around family, friends, and workmates when you're sick. Consider, I know we're tired of masks. Hey, I'm tired of them too. But consider wearing them if you're going to be in a large group of people, or you're going to be around your elderly mom or auntie or grandmother who is really vulnerable.
Yeah. I support that.
Hand hygiene. And if there's a vaccine for it,
get it.
Please get it.
You guys heard it. Okay. My nickname is Pincushion Bobby. I keep telling them, just give them to me. I'm up to 11 shots in 2 years. So you guys heard him. So Jason knows better. Okay. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm tired of getting stuck too, but I'm doing it. If they got it, give it to me.
Yeah. I believe in science. Yep. Here, here.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Now we've actually shared in our chat the dchealth.dc.gov page.
Yep.
Is that the best place for people to go to get information or your information about STD prevention and infectious disease information?
It's a good one. I'll put another plug for sexualbeings.org that has some great info about testing, about PrEP, about PEP. And then we have a Google site for the DC Health and Wellness Center where you can get connected to the services that we offer there. So I'll put in the plug for those as well. To the extent that people still want to use them, the Sexual Beings is where you can get condoms to your community-based organization or just to your house.
Delivered to your house?
Yeah, well, first of all, he said there was a slow your roll, Alf. No, he said there was a program, and hopefully I'm saying Sexual Beings. There was a program called Sexual Beings, where they could deliver a kit to your house so you could test yourself for STDs. I mean,
That's Get Checked DC. Sorry, Alvin. GetCheckedDC.org.
I'm sorry. I was reading down. GetCheckedDC.org. That I think that is phenomenal because I mean, come on now. Years ago, I just remember that people would get an STD and you have to go to your doctors and look in their face or go to the clinic or wait for them to call you. But now you can get it at home like a COVID test. And so I think that is very convenient. You guys out here watching this show need to hear about this. Get checked.
Absolutely.
And go ahead.
I was gonna say, is that only for DC residents? Because we are an national and international show.
That's true.
It currently is just for DC residents. We're working on that. We do have a more regional approach for some of our other services, but the Get Checked DC home mailing program and the HIV test kit program is just currently for people with a DC address.
Well, I'll send mine through with Alvin's name. So if anything comes back.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Oh my gosh. I was going to say something to that effect, but I was going to say because there's some people live in Maryland who want to call me now. Because Alvin and I are here, but I knew little Elf was not going to let that get away
not
there.
At all.
Jason, before we let you go, one of the things I certainly wanted to ask about very quickly also, because it too significantly impacted the LGBTQ community, is the Mpox, and asking the question of the presence of Mpox still within the community, the need for vaccination if one has not already been vaccinated, et cetera. Just kind of like a quick update, if you wouldn't mind sharing with Mpox in the community.
Yes, I'm glad. Thanks for bringing that up. First, starting with good news, last 2 weeks are the first 2 weeks since the outbreak started when we had 0 cases reported in the district.
Excellent. That's
this
excellent.
Is a great public health, a success story. And it's because of the way the public, our LGBTQ brothers, sisters, others, siblings responded and came out and said, give me that vaccine. Even people said, don't give me COVID vaccine. I don't take the flu vaccine, but I'll
give it out.
The Mpox vaccine.
We're going to let that go and just keep it moving. Okay, they took the vaccine. There you go. Keep it moving.
And, but even though we haven't had any cases reported in the last 2 weeks, we still would encourage people to get vaccinated. It's a two-shot process, 4 weeks apart. Currently, our COVID centers in wards 2, 3, and 8 are also doing the Mpox vaccine, and it's walk up. You don't have to have an appointment. Early on, we didn't have enough vaccine. Now we have plenty.
But just clarification, if you've not been vaccinated, you do recommend it still?
Absolutely. Yes, because we're not at 0 cases nationwide, and we don't know this caught us by surprise. This monkeypox or mpox previous outbreaks did not do what this outbreak did, and our community was very much not the only people that were affected, but made up the largest percentage.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yes, still the vaccine.
We are, excuse me, look, Jason, we need to bring you back because there's some things that we need to talk to you about and we couldn't get to. But if Bobby and Vash will indulge me, I want to ask this last question. First of all, thank you for joining us tonight for Health Talk. Very informative, and we do appreciate that you're here to close out our show, our Manage Your Health series. What are there any closing remarks you want to share with our viewers about entering this new year regarding their health before you leave us?
Oh, sure. I mean, if you don't know your status, if you don't know your HIV status and you haven't not had that done recently, there's so many ways to get that done. All of us should know our HIV status, and do the test with the knowledge that if you're negative and at risk, we can give you a pill a day or a shot every 2 months to prevent it. And if you are just to find out you're living with HIV, we can give you a pill a day or give you a shot every 2 months to treat it. So this is not 10 years ago. It's not 20 years ago. It's not 30 years ago.
Amen.
Then also a plug for HIV is not the only thing that we live with, and our overall health. We need physicals every year. We need a cholesterol check. We need to find out if we're living with diabetes. We need to look at our diet and exercise, look at our weight management, look at our stress level. Mental health is such a huge unmet need in our community. Specifically, we have higher rates of depression, anxiety, and suicide than the general public. Overall, physical, mental, spiritual health is really, really important going into the new year. Let's talk about that.
Jason, Beverley, thank you so much for being here. Please don't go away. We're gonna bring you back for the closing of the show. But ladies and gentlemen, please, we can't hear you, but let's give him a round of applause, Mr. Jason Beverley from the DC Department of Health. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you. Wow. Well, this is like a perfect segue into his closing remarks is a perfect segue into this week, the pop-up.
So what?
Yes. Jason,
I like the sound. That
you like the sound?
That when it leaves, it's like, okay, they're back.
Yeah, see, I was gonna say something.
I'm saying nothing.
I'm saying nothing. Look, Jason ended, telling us how we could prepare for the new year.
Yes.
Regarding our health, and he mentioned stress. So, ladies and gentlemen, our pop-up for tonight, we want to give you our 5 points for de-stressing, de-stressing, because it almost sounds like distress, but de-stressing during the holiday.
Right. Absolutely. Because distress is totally different, honey.
This heavy tongue
is down.
Distress. The heavy tongue is back.
The heavy tongue again,
Bob. The heavy tongue is back. Okay. Yes. De-stressing during the holiday. So
yes, absolutely. Now, look, we had a conversation about this, I don't know, like a week or so ago. And we take your mental and your physical health very, very seriously here on He Said. Yep. And a week or so ago, we asked the question, do you have to go to a party when those people do not bring you joy? And we just want to emphasize again during this holiday season that you have the ability to just say no. I would say no thank you because, that's always kinder, but you can just say no. Yeah. Right.
And I will just add to that, as I've said before, and no is what? A complete sentence. That's right.
And the thing is, no is okay. It is lovely to know that you have been invited.
Absolutely.
It also lets the host know that they do not have to cook any other food for you. They do not have to buy any more liquor for you. It is okay to just say no, thank you.
One less.
Absolutely.
And another point that we thought was important to share with you all is that cut down, try to eliminate family fiascos. And you can do this by inviting a non-family member to events. Now, but if you know you got a messy family, you may not want to invite that friend or that member. But some of the research we've done has said that if you invite a friend to your family event, that it would cut down on the chaos and fiascos that you usually encounter at your family, with your family.
Yes. They may not quite show out the same way with the guests there.
They will slide the plate instead of toss it.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow. Well, there's another. First of all, I want to say hello to Derwin, who just chimed in. I had the wonderful pleasure of meeting Derwin in person today. So just want to say hello and thanks for tuning in.
Hello.
But the other thing that we often talk about is, the gratification and satisfaction that comes from helping others, paying it forward, doing something nice for someone else is a tremendous way of feeling a great sense of accomplishment and helping one another. There before the grace of God go I, whether it's a contribution to a charity that you believe in, simply doing something nice for your neighbor, a note, reaching out to someone you haven't spoken to. And I'm one of those kind of people that sometimes when people cross my mind, I try to be pretty good about picking up the phone and saying, like, I'm just checking on you because you were heavy on my mind, on my heart today. And I'm following. And can you think of a person who's ever really mad that you stopped to recognize their presence or check in on them? So doing something for others can certainly be a wonderful way to do something for yourself as well.
I don't know where they were when I was putting up my Christmas lights again, but I think that's a great idea. Nobody was helping me put my Christmas
lights.
It
was you who said you would sympathize with someone else.
I would sympathize with you. I would. I'm here.
Just making. All right.
I'm lending an ear.
Just listening.
Go ahead, Vash. I'm sorry.
No worries. Something else that you can do to really bring joy to the season is contact someone that has made a difference in your life. I know that we're at the end of the year, but if you can think all the way back to the beginning of the year and find those people that have just done anything, whether it was a smile that lifted your day, a phone call, a card, anything, share that with them. Let them know that they're in your heart during this holiday season. It's all so worthwhile.
Absolutely.
I support that. Yes.
And part of what you were saying also earlier, in addition to saying no, sometimes we do find ourselves feeling pressured to say yes. And so we go to some of these events. But one of the things that we can do as a part of self-care as well is just not necessarily committing a great amount of time to them. Sometimes, the appearance, making an appearance, saying hello, spending, time, getting to chat with a couple of people is all you need. You don't have to close the party out all the time. So just, that time management piece during a time when your time there are many demands on your time is also very important as well to your own sense of mental health.
And I want to introduce the notion of I think it's the Irish goodbye.
What is the Irish goodbye?
The Irish goodbye is when you are at a party and you are ready to go.
Yes.
You just quietly leave.
Oh,
you don't go around.
I didn't know that's what it was called. I've heard that.
I'm sorry.
Oh, there's somebody
the vibe of the party. When you are ready to go, you just go. Go quietly.
I didn't know that was the name that it's given, but I've heard about that quiet exit kind of like.
Well, there's one of our viewers who I know needs to exercise that because I'm not even going to say who that is, but I will practice that and I will wear that on a badge. Irish goodbye. Okay, I will make sure that we do that. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of our show. Thank you, Bobby and Vash, for sharing our de-stressing tips for the holidays. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of the year, and next week is our year in review show. Bobby, Vash, and I, we have a fun-filled show planned for you guys. Just recapping the year and some of the things that made us, our show exciting. So please tune in next week. Our words of the week this week: health is like money. We never have a true idea of its value until we lose it. And that was a quote by Josh Billings, ladies and gentlemen. If we could bring Jason back to the stage tonight. Jason, again, thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Jason Beverley,
absolutely.
with
Thank
the
you.
Department of Health. Thank you for your expertise, comments, advice. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to sign out, and we look forward to seeing you for one more show this year, next week, on our new episode of He Said.
He said.
He said.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Have a good weekend.